Quarterback is the most vital position on an NFL roster. It's so important to find that franchise guy because it can set your team up for success for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, the first round's the easiest place to get these guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. They were all first rounders. However, it's not the only place. Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl and he was a second round pick. Brock Purdy, he led the Niners to a Super Bowl over a year ago and he was Mr. Irrelevant. Arguably the best quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, was a 6th round pick. So with the 2025 NFL draft coming up, you gotta wonder, is that guy out there? I mean, probably not, but maybe, just maybe.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
So with that being said, let's take a look at the top 10 quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL draft class. A special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Thank you for sponsoring today's video. More on them a little bit later, but without further ado, let's get into this sucker. Starting at number 10, I got Curtis Rourke out of Indiana, coming in at 6'4", 220 pounds. He was a former 2-star recruit from the 2019 recruiting class. His brother Nathan was actually the previous starting quarterback at Ohio because Curtis started his career at Ohio, at least his collegiate career at Ohio. But Nathan, I think right now he's currently playing for the BC Lions in the Canadian Football League, so that's pretty dope. But Curtis here, he goes to Ohio and he ends up redshirting his freshman season. I think he started all 3 games in 2020. Again, that's a shortened season because of the Rona. And it was 2021 where he really broke out. He started 9 games. That season in 2022, he ended up being the MAC Offensive Player of the Year. He was a first team All-MAC. Keep in mind, tore his ACL that year. That becomes important because then we're going to talk about some of the negatives with him. But in 2023, he was a second team All-MAC. He ends up transferring to Indiana and plays on a torn ACL, which is kind of the dopest crap I've ever heard of. That's just so stinking wild. He ended up getting surgery after the season. Also missed a game because of a broken thumb. Like, that kept him out for a game. Okay. But this is a big reason why you don't see any workout numbers for him. And to be fair, like, the workout numbers for quarterbacks, it's not at all that important. If we're going to talk about like a correlation between combine, pro day workouts that transitions to the NFL, Broshmo, ironically, like strangely enough, ends up being the biggest correlation when it comes to success. And I mean, I guess you could talk about maneuverability in the pocket. Broshmo helps show that. I don't know. I mean, you're always going back to the film when it comes to this stuff. But now let's talk about the prospect himself, Curtis Rourke. And I want to go back to that ACL. That's the big con with him, the big negative, because he's had 2 ACL injuries over the last 2 years. He's going to be 24 at the start of his rookie year. So he is also one of the older prospects. And I mean, because some people might be surprised that I'm pretty low on him. I got him outside of my top 200, but he's also working with limited tools. Like, he has a good enough arm for the NFL. There are times he does struggle to push it downfield. There are times where he just the ball hangs on him. There's just some misplaced throws here and there. Like, you get to his footwork, because sometimes he just doesn't keep a consistent pace, or he maybe plays a little bit toesy, and like his stride when throwing the football is never really the same. And I mean, part of that could be the torn ACL he played on, but if you go back to some of his Ohio tape, it's like you see some of those inconsistencies. Under pressure, you're going to worry about him because it's not like he's got that escapability, never really has over his collegiate career. But I think he gives you a good safe floor because this is a dude that throws with great anticipation, really good touch. He's a quick processor, like his ability to like just go through progressions and get to the right read quicker, sooner rather than later, which we saw that a ton at Iowa. Big reason why this was a team that made the college football playoff. And he's so unfazed in the pocket by pressure. Like, he will dig in and make a throw, even if it means that he is about to get rocked. Like, he's not like, nah, I'm delivering this sucker. He's very much a rhythm passer. And I feel like for guys like this, Case Keenum's kind of like the popular comp. So there it is. Case Keenum, comp for Curtis Rourke, but I have him here at 10. At number 9 is my short king himself, Dillon Gabriel, out of Oregon, coming in at 5'11", 205 pounds. Yes, he is undersized. He is a bit older, and honestly, probably his biggest knock is he's short, he's light, and he's on the older side. So, I mean, those are big things working against him, which leads me to think he maybe just has a higher ceiling as maybe a backup in the NFL. But the dude was a former 3-star recruit out of the 2019 class. He was Gatorade Hawaii Player of the Year back in 2018. Started his career at Central Florida, where he started 12 games after coming off the bench in the season opener. In 2020, started all 10 games, made second team All AAC. In 2021, he played the first 3 games, started the first 3 games until he ended up fracturing his clavicle, ended his season. He would transfer at the end of the year, go to Oklahoma, where honestly, he was a hella good, man. He played in all 12 games, started all 12 games actually. In 2022 was the Big 12 Offensive Newcomer of the Year. In 2023, he started the first 12 games, made first team All Big 12, decided to enter the transfer portal prior to the bowl game, ends up at Oregon this season, where they end the regular season undefeated, and they get mollywopped by Ohio State. To be fair, those were your national champions, so kind of is what it is. But he was first team All Big 10, had a really good year, and I want to talk about the positives first when it comes to Dillon Gabriel, because like this dude's got a better arm than you would expect for a shorter quarterback. He just does, man. Like, he doesn't have elite arm strength. Like, don't get me wrong with that, but considering his size, like, he can zip the ball, man. Like, he can throw to all 3 levels of the field. He has mastered his touch passes, especially down the field. And this is a dude that knows how to work with space, or at least the space that is given. Quick release, very accurate. His adjusted completion percentage this past season was 82%. That's a really, really good number. And it's not like a lot of that came off of screens. If you were going to go look at like play action screens, well, they did use a lot of play action, a ton of play action, but it wasn't over 20% in terms of screens or RPOs and whatnot. He's actually got some zip, especially on the move, man. Like, he can throw the ball on a needle or on a rope. That's actually the saying, on a needle. What saying is that? But yeah, you can throw it on a rope to that short to intermediate. And he's also quick and elusive. Like, for one, he's got a small hitbox, just being shorter and smaller, so he's tough to get a hand on. But he's also, I think, a pretty darn solid athlete. Like, he can vacate the pocket in the blink of an eye. I mean, you go back to like 2023, 16 forced missed tackles. Didn't really have to do a lot of running around last season because that Oregon offense was just so studded. But at the end of the day, it's like you'd have to be betting on the exception when it comes to Dillon Gabriel if you have him going high. With him being shorter, he has some difficulties seeing the middle of the field. I think we saw that at the Senior Bowl, especially on day 2. He had a couple of picks, I think. On top of that, and again, this is kind of a nitpick here. Again, this is probably the negative I'm least concerned with, because this was one a lot of people had with Bo Nix. It's like, okay, he only was really asked to read like half of the field. He had a very, I don't want to call it a simplistic offense, but it was like RPO-ish-esque offense at Central Florida. Oklahoma was kind of like a 2-read and scramble type of offense. And then, I mean, here at Oregon, didn't really have to read the full field, only had to do half the field. Basically has taken snaps from shotgun his whole career, but you're going to find that with a lot of these quarterbacks in the collegiate ranks. But like, I like the dude a ton. I went with the comp of Jaron Hall because, well, Jaron Hall, former baseball player, and it was someone that I thought did a good job. Like, he was shorter, but he did a good job of throwing with some gusts, with some zest and whatnot. But Dylan Gabriel, I'm just not going to be higher on him than probably a load of other people. I'd rather take shots on some of these guys that just have bigger and better tools. At number 8, it's Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, coming in at 6'3", 224 pounds. He was actually formerly a 5-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class. He set the city record for career passing yards and touchdowns. He was teammates with Marvin Harrison Jr., both in high school and then, well, eventually at college. And his father, Derek, actually played quarterback at Rutgers. So that's kind of fun. He started his career at Ohio State, basically backed up CJ Stroud for the first couple of years, was the full-time starter in 2023. And I felt like he got unfairly got a lot of flack for the offense kind of being like, and it's not like the offense was bad. It just wasn't up to your typical Ohio State standard, especially considering all the weapons that they had. So he ended up shouldering a lot of the blame, ends up transferring and goes to Syracuse, where he started all 13 games. He was second team all ACC. He broke Syracuse single season passing yards and touchdown records, had a phenomenal season. And when it comes to him, the prospect, the dude's a gunslinger, man, straight up gunslinger. And this is where I get the Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke is straight up just a gamer, bro. He's a gamer. And I feel like that's what McCord is, man, because I think he's got a solid enough arm. I think he's got a quick release. Doesn't have elite arm strength, but we're not talking about a guy with a noodle of an arm. And he's able to get the ball out really fast. I think from a technical standpoint, he's just mechanically sound, from his throwing motion to the base, the footwork. It's all very repeatable, and it looks the same from play to play and throw to throw. You know, so being able to throw from that consistent base with a consistent throwing motion, he doesn't stray away from that even when under pressure. However, I'm not going to say he's a guy that can make these off-platform throws. I just don't think he has that type of arm. Like, there are times where, okay, he is moved off his spot, out of the pocket, and he just doesn't have that arm strength to be able to like drive the ball downfield, and sometimes it will hang. So like, again, a dude that's not going to be an off-platform thrower. He doesn't have mobility like that either. He just doesn't. Like, sure, maybe he could extend a few plays with his legs, but he's never going to be a serious threat in the NFL with his legs. But I love this dude's composure. I really do, man. He's pretty calm and collected in the pocket. Even when he needs to move around, he keeps his eyes downfield. He's able to stay on time with his reads, even when things are going to hell in the backfield. And I feel like two things here. He really trusts his guys to go make a play. Like, hey, you know what? I know I got Meeks or Gadsden down there. I'm going to throw it up, go let them do the work. Like, cool. You believe in your guys. Or, okay, you throw with some ego and you're making some throws you probably shouldn't. And that's where that gunslinger mentality comes into play. Like, there are some decision-making mistakes there. Like, sometimes he likes the big play hunt. It just gets him in trouble. Doesn't necessarily have the zip to fit all passes on intermediate to deep throws. I think last season he had 23 turnover worthy throws, so not like the best. It's just not. I will say though, over the middle of the field, it's a bit more manageable with his turnover worthy plays. It's still high, 7.1. Still a little high, but I feel like you can live with it. He's someone that can give your offense a bit of a spark. but I don't see him being a top 20 starter in the NFL. Maybe more of this high level backup. You like the NFL draft. Matter of fact, you love the NFL draft, which means you're going to love my draft guide. If you want to know every player your team drafts or even signs as an undrafted free agent, then this is for you. My draft guide updates every day, and you'll be able to see those updates in real time as I add new evals and player backgrounds. It'll have analytics from this year and last year. It'll have the pro day and combine numbers. It'll even have my notes from the senior and shrine bowl. It's a one-time purchase of $30 via PayPal, Venmo, or the Cash App. You can check out the pinned comment or the description if you want to follow those links. And when you do purchase it, please be sure to include your email because it is a Google spreadsheet. So I'm going to require your email. Don't make me hunt it down because I will hunt you down. I will find you and I'll make sure you get your money's worth. Anywho, thanks for supporting the channel. At number 7, I have Alabama's Jalen Milroe coming in at 6'2", 220 pounds. He entering the year was a bit of a divisive prospect, and I think a lot of people have now kind of settled in to where they like him, though the range is still pretty big. I think there's some people out there that will still clamor, okay, yeah, I don't mind taking a shot on a guy with his type of tools in the top 50. I think majority of people kind of think he's a third rounder. I have him a little lower on my board just because I like a lot of the non-quarterback prospects in this class. Currently have him at 105 on my big board. But when it comes to Jalen Milroe, former 4-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class, redshirted his freshman year, served as a backup behind Bryce Young, and then in 2023, opened the year as the starter. After the Texas loss, he did sit on the bench for the USF game, South Florida game, where that was just like a rainy mess, and both teams didn't look great. It was a bad game for Alabama. He once again became the starter and started in those next 13 games. This season, he started every game, all 13 games, played in their bowl game. Wasn't like the best game for him, unfortunately. Michigan, I think, ended up winning that game. But when it comes to Jalen Milroe, I think he's got a big arm, man. I think I think he throws with good zip. I think he can push the ball. There's really no diversity in what type of throws he has. He's either gonna like hang the ball high or he's gonna throw that sucker on a rope like a laser. There's really no touch passes with him. There's really no anticipation on his part as a thrower. And like when we get to like the negatives, it's just like he doesn't do quarterback things well. And like we'll break down what that really means. But this dude's a legit weapon with his legs. Like sure, he can improvise, but I thought his best runs of the year came on designed runs. And this is why, like low key, think you make him a running back. Is that is that divisive? Am I going to get hate for that? I don't know. We'll see in the comments. But I think he should be a running back in the NFL who can occasionally like play wildcat quarterback because he's got a fun arm. He really does. I will say though, if you don't want to move him to running back, like I think his mechanics are pretty solid. I really do. Because like I remember the first game I watched of his going into the summer was the playoff game last season against Michigan, and I was like, okay, I was expecting his like mechanics to be all over the place, like not throwing from a consistent base, like leading with the shoulder and not having like his back foot, his back shoulder, his hips all in unison, kind of working together. But no, like he whips it, man. I think he's got like very solid mechanics. It's just at the end of the day, his accuracy is not great. Last season, adjusted completion percentage was 72.7%. I believe that is the second lowest of guys who played 6 or more games this season. The lowest would be, I believe that is that Brady? No, ain't no way. Brady Cook. Brady Cook had a lower adjusted completion percentage than than Jalen Milroe. Wow. The more you know. I was kind of shocked. By that. But I mean, we saw it at the Senior Bowl. It wasn't great. Like if we want to really like even go into further outside of like him not being like the most accurate quarterback in the world, not having the best ball placement in the world, like going through progressions and diagnosing what he's looking at, like he could be a tick late when it comes to routes. It's like, oh, you got this guy open. You just gotta lead him. You gotta anticipate that a little bit better. He has a nasty habit of holding on to the ball too long, though. I think this season he did a bit better of a job. He was still close to that like 3 seconds average time to throw. So like, but he was under it at the very least. So sure, he did a little bit better under Kalen DeBoer. But like legitimately, like Nick Saban didn't trust him to be anything more than like kind of a 2-read guy. DeBoer really laid into the running aspect of Jalen Milroe. Again, a lot of designed runs from him. And like pre-snap, I don't think he all the time understands what he's seeing, whether it's like understanding where pressure may or may not be coming from. I will say though, it sounds like this dude's a hell of an interview. Like he will bring leadership to your locker room. Keep in mind, man, he decided to stay. When Nick Saban retired, he was like, no, I am Alabama through and through and leader of that team. So you could just bring him in just for that. And maybe you work around some of his deficiencies. And I think the pro comp for him, for me, it's Justin Fields, right? Justin Fields, who phenomenal athlete, can really legitimately like win games with his feet. But it just hasn't come together as a passer for him, and unfortunately. And you can make excuses like, oh, well, he never really had a chance, right? Like Chicago never surrounded him with good talent. That team offensively was always on the struggle bus. He goes to the Steelers and he gets benched for Russell Wilson just because Russ got healthy. And like, again, you can make those excuses. And I think there's like some legitimacy to that, but Fields has been on the struggle bus his whole career thus far. And I feel like Jalen Milroe right now is probably where where Fields was at maybe in like year 3, year 4 of what Fields was at. So for me, the comp kind of wrote itself. Number 6, I have Tyler Shuck out of Louisville, coming in at 6'5", 224 pounds. And let's first and foremost go through the journey, because it's been a hell of a journey for Shuck, as he was formerly a 4-star recruit from the 2018 class. That's right. This guy's 25, and I believe he's going to be 26 a couple of weeks into his rookie season. So he is, I think, the oldest quarterback prospect in this class that can legitimately get drafted. You could look at like Casey Thompson out of Oklahoma, who is 26, but I don't think he's a legitimate prospect. Nonetheless, he started his career at Oregon, redshirt his freshman year. He was a reserve, a backup to Justin Herbert. You may have heard of him. Became the starter in the shortened 2020 season, leading the Ducks to a conference title then. He did split time with Anthony Brown during 2020, so he eventually decided to transfer, and he goes to Texas Tech because he was like, you know what, I don't want to be in a competition for starting time at quarterback, so I'm just going to go to Texas Tech, where he started the first 4 games, and then he ends up breaking his collarbone, ended his season. Now, you're going to see my first negative there be he's very old, which is true. And injuries might not be as big of a concern as you may think, because a lot of I guess let's just go through it. So in 2022, he found himself in a quarterback battle with Donovan Smith. You may have heard of him. He ended up going to Houston. Didn't Donovan Smith got benched this year too, I think, at Houston. But Shuck ended up starting down the stretch for the Raiders. And then you had Brehan Morton, who ended up, you had basically like just 3 quarterbacks like going back and forth and swapping time. He ended up going into 2023 Shuck, emerging as the starter. He started the first 4 games. He had that thrilling game against Oregon that they ultimately lost in, I think, OT, right? But he ends up breaking his leg, right? Breaking his fibia. And now it's like, okay, those are some big injuries. They're clean bone breaks. Bones, when they break, typically they grow back stronger. Might not, the injuries might not be as big of a concern as people may think, because they've all just been bone breaks. So I listed the injuries here as a negative, a weakness, but it might not be as big of a concern as it might be for some other guys who struggled with more muscle tears and such. But when he ends up going to Louisville this year, he had a really good year. Like, he had some fun games. That Notre Dame game was hella good. And I get why some people have like Shuck as like quarterback 3, maybe even quarterback 4. It's just, I look at like this dude's age and it's like, yeah, I get he was formerly a highly like recruited player, but like, and he's got your prototypical build. He's got a really good arm, really strong arm. I like the anticipation that he plays with. Like, he throws with good zip and good accuracy, especially if we're talking about like passes to the sideline. Like, he knows how to fit those in. He really does. He knows where to put it where only his wide receiver can get it. And on top of that, he's also a plus athlete. Like, I'm not saying he's like twitchy or anything, but if he gets going in a straight line, he can be hard to stop. He can be hard to stop. So I have Matt Castle as the comp here, as a guy who started behind, I think it was Matt Leinart, right? And I say started, backed up. So I don't think he started a game since high school. He ends up being able to make a squad there in New England. And then when Tom Brady went down with injury, he stepped up, ended up having a good year, got paid, right? Or traded. Regardless, he got traded and paid, or he just got paid when he went to, I think, Kansas City, and ended up being like an okay player. I do think Shuck is probably a bit better straight line speed, but they both got similar builds and I think very talented arms. When it comes to some of the weaknesses, the cons, I would say his accuracy and decision making sometimes can be a bit inconsistent. Like, he doesn't always see defenders underneath when targeting. Like the intermediate parts of the field, his ball placement, especially over the middle of the field, could maybe use a little bit of touch. I got some concerns with the pocket poise, like his average time to throw, 2.93 seconds, dangerously close to that 3-second mark, which is like, ooh, you need to get rid of the ball a little bit sooner, my friend. Like, I think he could probably do a better job of picking up where pressure is coming from. I thought that was pretty apparent in the Notre Dame game, if you want to go back and watch that sucker. But I think Shuck is a good prospect. It just sucks that he's 26, or gonna be 26. Before we get back to talking about quarterbacks, let me talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. If you download the app, sign up using promo code BROSHMO. They match that first deposit up to $1,000 dues. Listen, Underdog Fantasy, it's one of my favorite places to play. They got higher or lower on player stats. That's a ton of fun. They got legitimately yearly best ball. If you want to go draft rookies on your best ball team right now, they got that available to you. And it's not just the NFL. They're going to be dipping their hand into the March Madness, the NBA, baseball's returning. They even have esports if you follow that sucker. But as always, play responsibly, play within your means. Underdog Fantasy, promo code BROSHMO. At number 5, it's Will Howard at Ohio State, coming in at 6'4", 236 pounds, former 4-star recruit from the 2020 class. He was also played basketball, where he finished his career with over 1,000 points in high school. So congratulations. He ends up going to Kansas State, where in his freshman season, he started the final 7 games of the year, became the starter, played in 6 games in 2021 with 3 starts, ultimately did lose his starting job to Adrian Martinez, who was just kind of this journey, like, I don't want to say journeyman, but I mean, he does eventually go to Nebraska as a starter, but he was just a guy with a lot, like, he was a veteran at that point, right? Guy with a lot of snaps under his belt. So it wasn't too surprising that he ends up losing the job multiple times, like 2 times, to Adrian Martinez in back-to-back seasons. But he does become the full-time starter in 2023 for the Wildcats, where he started 12 games before deciding to hit the transfer portal. So this was prior to the ball game, but he made second team all Big 12. He goes to Ohio State, started all 16 games, was third team all Big 10. He was the college football national championship offensive MVP. Had a big year, man. That's quite the way to end your collegiate career. And I will say, dude, Kansas State, Will Howard, very different from Ohio State Will Howard. And I mean, there's some similarities there, but like, I felt that at Ohio State, he did a much better job of working within the system, knowing where his reads are and like recognizing things pre-snap and trying to decide where to go to the football, where to go with the football prior to the snap, and then being able to be call an audible after the snap. I mean, like, okay, well, this reads not open, so let me go to my next one, knowing where my hot read is if I get blitzed. So like, I didn't see that from Kansas State Will Howard. To be fair, Kansas State Will Howard felt like he was more athletic, but at Ohio State he didn't really have to be, because I remember there are times where it was like, oh yeah, I forgot Will Howard can run with the football. Didn't see nearly as many YOLO balls at Ohio State as you did from his Kansas State tape. So like, you saw some legitimate growth from Will Howard. And at the end of the day, I think this dude's got a big arm. He's got prototypical size. The ball just kind of like flies out of his hand. Now, learning how to throw with touch, that's still something I think is a work in progress, because there are times where he'll put too much under the ball or not enough for his receivers to run under it. But he does have the ability to throw to all levels of the field. I talked about that anticipation, that pre-snap recognition, as those were some big improvements when it came to Will Howard this year. He's a plus athlete at that big size as well. Had 7 rushing touchdowns this season. That I didn't know. I just didn't know. But I will say he still had some of those YOLO ball moments at Ohio State. He did. They were still there. He had 15 turnover-worthy throws this past season. On top of that, I think his ability to process the middle of the field still has ways to go. He does have problems just shifting through moving parts in the middle of the field. There are times where he ends up holding on the ball too long and maybe delivers it late over the middle of the field. As if you look at his turnover-worthy play rate over the middle of the field, this past season, it was 8.5%. I don't know if you know this. That is a relatively highish number. I'll just say that. His release and delivery just aren't the same all the time. Like, man, like, he has the ability to make some dastardly throws down the field. He really does. He's got the arm strength to do it. But too many of those passes do hang in the air. Like, part of that is just not knowing how to throw with touch. Part of that is just not digging your foot down and driving the football. Like, there's just some inconsistencies when he is going deep. But you look at him and there's a lot to like, especially when it comes to the improvements. Like, I felt watching him this year at Ohio State very reminiscent of Mason Rudolph, except for more athletic. So that ended up being the comp. If you remember Mason Rudolph coming out of Oklahoma State, I just saw a lot of similarities. And I mean, to be fair, you see Mason Rudolph in the NFL, man, and I think he's a quality backup quarterback. At number 4, I still believe in Quinn Ewers, quarterback out of Texas, 6'2", 214 pounds. Let's just go over the background, and then we'll get into the prospect himself. Former 5-star recruit out of the 2021 recruiting class. He did miss time his junior year with a sports hernia, which will be the one of many injuries that I list out here. Initially committed to Texas, but they decommitted, decided to go to Ohio State. Also played baseball in high school. Spent 1 year at Ohio State. Redshirted, ended up going to Texas after. He started 10 games in 2022 for the Longhorns, but he did miss 3 games because of a clavicle sprain in his non-throwing shoulder. Ended up having 15 touchdowns, which was the most by a freshman in Longhorn history. Then 2023, started in 12 games, made second team All Big 12, did miss a game because of an injury to his throwing shoulder. So, okay, didn't miss a lot of time because of these injuries, but someone who's starting to have a bit of a repertoire, a bit of a resume when it comes to injuries. We get to 2024. Started 14 games. That's a lot of games. Made second team All SEC. Missed 2 games early in the year with an abdominal injury. And fun fact, played through an ankle, I think it was an ankle sprain, ankle injury late in the season. A big reason why he wasn't that mobile and not able to consistently extend plays, why he wasn't constantly a threat with his feet. Now let's talk about the prospect. There's a lot of negative here. That's just the truth. Like, his downfield ball placement is still a bit of a work in progress. Those numbers were a bit better, but there's just times where he locks onto a target or makes a choice prior to the snap, and he's like, well, coverage be darned. I'm not going to deviate from this. He just telegraphs a lot of his passes early too, because he throws with a hitch. Again, not like the end all be all, but well, stuff like that will lead to batted balls if they catch on to you, if the defense catches on to you. Matter of fact, we're going to be talking about a guy who throws consistently with a hitch at number 3. But when we get there, right? Decision making. It's not great. 21 turnover-worthy plays. That was more than big-time throws that he had this season. When you talk about over the middle of the field, golly, G. Willikers, 7.4% turnover-worthy throws over the middle of the field. Not good, and those numbers actually went down. They were early on in the season. They weren't, or near the tail end of the season, they weren't that great. They I think it was in like 11%. And I was like, oh my gosh, can't take this guy on day 2. We can talk about the pocket presence or the lack thereof. 23.6% of the pressure he faced was self-induced. Anything over 20%, and you're like, what the hell? What the hell? And you could just see that, man. I think part of that is maybe the injury, right? Because he looked more comfortable in the pocket at the beginning of the year, and some people will be like, well, they didn't face anybody at the beginning of the year. They faced Michigan. What are we talking about? I know Michigan lost a lot of talent, but like, defense was hella good. It was hella good. But after he returned from that abdominal injury, dude, like, his feel for the pocket just sucked. It was among the worst. Like, granted, when it was time to like step up in big moments, he was able to do that this season. But this dude just wasn't stepping up in the pocket. He was just vacating, rolling out. And when he suffered that ankle sprain, it's not like he was running away from these guys. Watch the Georgia games. It was rough. It was rough, man. Just was. So what are we then doing? Why do I have him still as a 3rd rounder? because I believe in the arm talent. He's got really good arm talent, man. He throws with a live arm. He could throw from different arm angles, he could throw different velocities. He knows where to put it and put it exactly. I wish I was more consistent, but like that's more so of a deep ball thing when it comes to like his accuracy. But I think on the short to intermediate, he does actually a really good job of that. Playing in Sarkisian's offense, I thought he did a good job going through his progressions and just having a good feel and a good command over the offense. I know this dude can extend plays with his feet. The dude was banged up. If you're going to be like, oh, this guy can't run, it's like the dude was playing through an ankle injury. He was trying to put the team on the back. Maybe we should have saw more of Arch Manning down the stretch than we did. Now, am I saying this dude is a starter? No, I'm just saying he's got the type of arm I'm willing to take a third round flyer on. Listen, if you're going to take guys like Kyle Trask or Kellen Mond in the third round, I'm willing to bet on this dude's arm. Get him into camp. See if we can put it together in a couple of seasons. And if not, then hopefully you got a really good backup there. I'm just saying, I think he's someone worth taking a shot on, especially with little investment. At number 3, I have Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss, coming in at 6'2", 223 pounds. I know people are looking at the comp and they're like, oh, don't worry. He's got bigger hands than Kenny Pickett. But I'll talk about the comp in a little bit. Let's talk about the background. This is a former 4-star player out of the 2021 recruiting class. He was all-state in baseball twice, and his father played safety at Utah. So fun fact. He goes to USC. He entered the Washington State game in week 3 after Keaton Slovis went down with injury. He would see playing time in weeks 9 and 10. He would get his first start of the year in week 12 against UCLA. He would finish the year as the starter. Lincoln Riley, though, was then hired. Caleb Williams came over, and Jackson Dart said, screw that. Ends up going to Ole Miss. He started week 1 versus Troy, but came off the bench against Central Arkansas. He would be the starter after that game for the remainder of the year. And basically, after that, it was like, no, like, Jackson Dart's our guy. He would start all 13 games in 2023. He would start all 13 games in 2024. He made first team All-SEC this past season. And I actually like Dart quite a bit. I've been a guy, I was talking about Dart a couple of years ago as a guy that I really like, because I think he's got a plus arm. I think he has a quick release. I think he's got good ball placement. Like, he can whip the ball out pretty darn fast. Now, granted, I think as you get to some downhill throws, might not necessarily have that velocity, but on the short to intermediate, he certainly does. I think he's got a good feel for pressure somewhat. Like, there are times where he will put the ball in harm's way while under pressure, but those times are kind of few and far between. Don't watch the Florida game. Burn the tape. But like, if you go to like games that were down late in, again, burn the tape, Florida game, not talking about that. Like, he had some big plays. Now, there were times where he would come up short, or there would be situations where he would put the team behind the 8 ball, maybe around the red zone. But I think for the most part, he did a solid job, because like, Dart was the offense. He was there's a big reason why he put up such huge numbers. And I don't think he's got like great like escapability from the pocket, but he's certainly a slippery athlete. Like, not the twitchiest guy, but like, he knows how, like, when to get out of dodge. And I think he displays good vision and contact balance. I just wish he would protect his body more. Like, this dude's taking a lot of hits. Like, here, I just read my note here. Protect your body. This kid is tough, needs to protect himself better as a runner. He was hurt on runs versus LSU and Texas Tech in 2022. Took some nasty hits in 2023. Helmet kept falling off in 2024. There were multiple games. Some instances, I remember the Tulane game, where I think it was 2 times in that game, his helmet came off prior to third down. So they'd have to put the backup quarterback in on third down. I think that actually happened in, was it the Georgia game? I think it was the Georgia game this past season. For goodness sake, I say, get a helmet that fits, get out of bounds, slide, one of the two. But I will say, dude's a competitor, man. Straight up competitor, fiery leader. People love playing for this guy. You might not love dating this guy. Apparently he's a cheater. Is what it is. I'm allegedly, I will say there are bigger red flags in this draft class as a whole. Shots fired. Lower body mechanics are a bit iffy. Like, could sometimes throw from a wide base. I think that kills the zip on his downfield throws. Like, there are times where he just kind of hitches, which hitching ain't entirely bad, but it's something you could, like, defensive players can pick up on if you do it enough. And they're like, okay, I could just tie my hands up to when he, like, steps back, jumps forward. And that has led to batted passes. 6 batted passes in 2023, 7 in 2024. So he's kind of telegraphing when he's going to throw the football. But I will say, again, like, when he makes up his mind of, oh, this is where I'm going with the football, he gets it out. He gets it out quickly. I will say sometimes in that Lane Kiffin offense, he doesn't deviate too much. Like, oh no, this is a ball I'm supposed to push downfield, and I'm going to push it downfield. Regardless if my receiver's getting separation or what the coverage may look like. And I mean, what his average depth of target, I believe, is the highest in this class, 11.9. The next closest would be 10.4, and that is no shot. That's Curtis Rourke. Hell yeah, you go, Kurt. You go, Kurt. So yeah, Dart was forcing the ball downfield a ton. Now, you talk about that Lane Kiffin offense. It's RPO heavy. It's not necessarily like the most nuanced routes and whatnot. Like, occasionally you would see guys doing like you just don't see, I think, a lot of over the middle throws. Not a lot of like deep to intermediate, like in breakers or digs. It's very much like screen or slant or some sort of like go ball or deep route outside of the hashes. So like, there's going to be a concern when it comes to how translatable can he be in the NFL, because we haven't seen Lane Kiffin guys necessarily do all that well in the NFL, a la Matt Corral. So like, I'm a big Jackson Dart fan. I think he's just got that gamer in him. It's kind of like I was looking at like Kenny Pickett and be like, okay, Kenny Pickett didn't always have the best ball placement on like downfield balls, but the dude's a gamer. He's a fierce leader. He's a bit slippier. Like, he's not crazy good athlete, but like he's definitely a lot more elusive than you would expect. And that's kind of where I have the comparison. But hey, Dart, at least you got bigger hands. At number 2, it's Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado, coming in at 6'2", 212 pounds. I got a top 20 grade on him. He is currently sitting at number 14 on the big board. Let's go over the background and then we'll talk about the player, because I feel like this one's going to be a little bit of fun. But Shedeur Sanders, former 4-star recruit from the 2021 recruiting class. Yes, if you didn't know, now you know. That is Deion Sanders' kid. That's Coach Prime's kid. Don't know what rock you've been living under. Regardless, he has been coached by his father dating back to high school. And he ends up following his dad to Jackson State, where he started all 13 games at quarterback, led the Tigers to their first Celebration Bowl appearance. He was a SWAC Freshman of the Year, also made second team All SWAC. Another year at Jackson State, started all 13 games, once again led the Tigers to the Celebration Bowl, but once again fell short. Just couldn't win that championship there. He was SWAC Offensive Player of the Year, made first team All SWAC, and followed his dad over to Boulder, Colorado, where he started 11 games in 2023, won Pac-12 Newcomer of the Year, and then this past season in 2024, started all 13 games, made first team All Big 12. Let's get this sucker out of the way. For some teams, perhaps they're not going to like the drama or the spotlight of the Sanders family. I will say this, compared to his father and his brother Shiloh, I think Shedeur is a bit more tamed. Does he occasionally come out and be like, yeah, my offensive line kind of sucked this game? Sure. But I'm kind of okay with Shedeur Sanders. Like, it doesn't, for me, it's not as abundant, apparent in my face as it is more so with like a Coach Prime, which he's just a big personality in general, or like a Shiloh. Like Shiloh legitimately, I think, has some red flags. For me, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's something people are gonna talk about during the draft cycle. I could care less. To me, I don't see that problem. Some people may consider him a diva. It's not really gonna weigh much when it comes to my eval. Now let's talk about what he does on the football field. The dude probably is the best pure passer in this class when it comes to him as a processor. Like, he has some of the, he just has great understanding and great ability to process. He can do it both pre and post snap, displays really good football IQ with just how quickly he has run that offense the last couple of years. And that is with like some changes. They went from like Sean Lewis last season to a new coordinator this year. I love the anticipation throws. I love the touch throws. This is a dude that knows how to put good touch on the football and deliver that perfectly to his wide receivers. I'm not saying there's not some ducks out there. There certainly are some ducks out there, if you don't know what I mean. I'm saying there aren't pretty throws when he's maybe like off platform, rolling out, trying to get the ball out quickly and push it down, especially downfield. Like, there were some contested catch opportunities for Travis Hunter that I think it just came down to like, oh, Shedeur just doesn't have the biggest arm. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. But the dude's a great decision maker typically. He plays with really good poise even when things are breaking out. Doesn't really put the ball in harm's way. 7 turnover-worthy throws this past season. His 4.8% is pretty darn low. I like that he scrambles to pass. Like, he's not gonna like threaten or scare teams with his athleticism or but he can extend plays with his feet. But he's always, when he does extend plays, he wants to throw the football. He keeps his eyes downfield. Again, there is a ton of things to like about him as a passer. But probably the worst thing about him is his pocket poise sucks right now. I don't know if that's PTSD from the 2023 Colorado offensive line. It was much better this year, but you consistently see him drifting in the pocket. Like, and there were some cases where it's like, oh no, it's like this Mahomes type of like, listen, not a lot of quarterbacks should do that. Mahomes is just different. He's just different. Shedeur shouldn't be a guy that's trying to pull a Mahomes out of his hat. He's just not that guy. If you look at his self-enforced pressures, it's the worst in this class. Close to 27%. The next closest would be Quinn Ewers. After that, I think it's Brady Cook. but those are the only guys over 20%. You want to be under 20. You just want to be. He's just got to get better poise, man. Again, just got to get better poise. Like when you get to the NFL, you got to imagine if he gets drafted highly, you can't imagine that he's going to be behind a good offensive line. That's a team drafted in like that top 10. You got to imagine that he's not going to be behind a good offensive line. So maybe he's a guy you want to sit until you work on that offensive line. I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, he's got a good arm, good, not great arm, okay arm. I would put it like 6. If we're talking about like strictly arm strength, it's like a 6 out of 10, which is probably like right around league average ish. But Teddy Bridgewater, he was the first guy that popped to mind at the beginning of the year. I brought that up in my summer scouting report. I don't think I'm changing it. I think that comp is kind of legit. Last but not least, I have Cam Ward out of the U, baby, the U, here at number 1, coming in at 6'2", 219 pounds. Currently, number 6 on my big board. So a guy that I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I would take him at number 1. Inflate the quarterback value, push him up the board. Cam Ward has an interesting journey to his way to potentially being a first overall pick. Cam Ward was an unranked recruit coming out of 2020 because he played for a high school that ran the Ween T. He is the cousin of former Seattle, former Titans safety Quandre Diggs, and former San Diego Charger Quentin Jammer. That's kind of cool. Played basketball in high school, was a 2-time all-district MVP. So since he was a 0-star recruit, he ends up going to Incarnate Word, where in 2020 only started 6 games his freshman season. Part of that, again, it was the Rona year, so shortened year. But he still set some single game and single season records. He won the Jerry Rice Award, which is given to the most outstanding freshman player in the FCS. So year 2, 2021, started all 13 games. He was Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year, also made FCS All-American second team. Decided, hey, I'm going to take my talents to the then Power 5, which eventually Pac-12 went ta-ta bye-bye, but goes to Washington State, started all 13 games, is in 2022, started all 12 games in 2023. He did play with the idea of declaring for the draft in 2023, ultimately decided to hop in the transfer portal, finds his way to Miami because he was like, well, shoot, Washington State, no longer a Power 5, I need to go to the Power 4. And he had a hell of a year from Miami, man. It was a hell of a ride. He started all 13 games, was first team All-ACC. And, man, like, okay. I mean, I feel like I need to talk about this real quick. So he only played the first half of the bowl game, which the Hurricanes eventually lost. Part of that was to set the FBS career passing touchdowns record. Ended up sitting in the second half. Apparently that was the coaching staff's plan. Hey, let's go get this for you. And then don't risk it, man. Go sit down. Let's see what we got in. Who do they got? Who do they have there? Jones at quarterback? I don't know. We got Carson Beck, so I ain't got to worry. Hopefully not. So people made a big deal about that. It's like, listen, like, most of these guys opt out of bowl games to begin with. Like, you mad at him going in, setting a FBS record, and then sitting out? Like, the team wanted this, the coaches wanted this, he wanted this. I heard that he wanted to go back in, but they were like, hey, you go make your money, boo-boo. So I thought a lot of people made a mountain out of a molehill. It was, at the end of the day, I was like, this is a big nothing burger. Ends up being a nothing burger. All right, let's talk about this dude. Big, confident arm. Dude has a rocket of an arm that he is capable of throwing to all levels of the field. He throws with good zip. He can throw. He's capable of like threading the needle, so to speak. There are some throws that he got away with just because my arm can be pretty ridiculous at times. Does he have an elite arm? I wouldn't say that. It's not like we're looking at like Drake May, Caleb Williams from last year. Some people would want to throw like Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels, I would say had like, let me be careful. Jaden Daniels threw with some good touch downfield. And in the NFL, I thought how he developed, how he sees the middle of the field improved a ton. Like Jaden Daniels, he's got a big arm. Wasn't a guy that necessarily threw with the best touch while at Arizona State. And he kind of developed that in his like last 2 seasons at LSU. But I would put Ward probably just under like a Jaden Daniels. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Anywho, you can see him throw with anticipation. Like one thing I love seeing is the quarterback letting the ball loose before the receiver even breaks out of their route. He just knows the landmark, knows where his receiver is going, where they're going to be, and he puts it there. By the time the receiver breaks, bam, ball's there. Go make a play. Love to see it. Love to see it. Pocket poise. Like, he can play a bit toesy from the pocket at times, and you kind of saw that in the opener against Florida, where Cristobal had to like kind of shift things to like, okay, well, like he's wanting to drift, he's wanting to roll out. Let's just create a move-in pocket using the play action or in the bootleg, and just kind of get him comfortable because we don't want him drifting back and making dangerous throws or making negative plays, which there were some cases in that first half where that happened. He was much better for the remainder of the year after that. So he is just calm, cool, collected. He's a stone cold killer in some regards. He doesn't get rattled by bad plays, which is good when you're a quarterback. You got to live with a short memory. Now, I'm not saying he's going out there and just being careless, like playing like it's backyard football. Some people would want to say that it's like, oh, 2 games with pick sixes, back-to-back games with pick sixes. But he's someone that could look at a deficit and feel no fear. Like, hey, let's just keep doing what we do best, get our offense going, and get ourselves back into this ball game, which he did against Virginia Tech, which he did against California. So I do think there's a little arm arrogance. He'll force the ball into throws that he's like, hey, I can make that throw. It's like, yeah, but you probably shouldn't take that throw. Maybe you don't throw it into double coverage just because you think you can make that tight window throw. Maybe you don't. Maybe you take your check down. Maybe, which I thought he actually did a good job of at Miami. There were some easy misses from his tape at Washington State. I thought he cleaned up for the most part at Miami, though you would see some here and there. Ultimately, completion rate ended up being adjusted completion rate 76.3%. So pretty solid. At the end of the day, I kind of agree with that franchise guy, Marcus. Like Jordan Love feels kind of like a good, like high comp, someone who can make these big plays, who can get teams back into the game just simply with how good his arm is. But occasionally you will see him put the ball in harm's way, which that's been kind of a theme with Jordan Love, where it's like he's kind of had some of these colossal turnovers. Like, why are you throwing that football? I think, what was it, the Rams this past year, where was it a pick six that first was initially almost a safety, then it turned into like kind of a pick six or something? I can't recall off the top of my head. And with Cam Ward, I think it might be that early on where it's like, hey, sometimes you just got to know when the play is dead and throw that sucker away. Live to see another down. But you gotta love that he's got that big play potential. I love the demeanor. Some people, again, might be worried about it. I'm not. At the end of the day, I'm a huge fan of Cam Ward and the Miami Hurricanes. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Who are some of your favorite quarterbacks in this draft class? We're getting closer to the draft, so I'm going to start pushing these final prospect rankings out for you. So be on the look for that sucker. Again, special thanks to our friends over at Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring today's video. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.